So this is your annotation guide to Northern Lights, or as it's also known, the Golden Compass. Firstly, you've got 4 themes to talk about or to find. Firstly, equality, which is all about the way people are treated differently or the same based on their class, gender or race in the novel. Secondly, courage, and obviously the main character Lyra is the main example of courage throughout the novel. But there's also other forms where people stand up for what they believe in or fight for what is right. Then we have Bildungsroman, which is a German word that means coming of age and refers to a coming of age novel, which is one portion of this story. And lastly, the theme is politics. So politics in the adult world. So Lyra sort of bumbles through the adult world, experiencing different sides of the political divide within the story, and she does her best to make sense of them, but as a general rule, she doesn't exactly know how what she does fits within the political realm of the world. But you as a reader, you're expected to understand how her actions relate to the wider political context of the story. In regards to motif, there's quite a few, some of them more obvious than others. The one I found I annotated the most was the animal nature of people. So mostly this is where the actions of a demon represents the inner workings or the inner thinking or the inner thoughts of a character. So this is the author's version of characterization. Very rarely will he refer to the character and say how they were acting and how that reflected their mental state, but the demon will very obviously and very often take this role of explaining what the person is thinking, feeling, or otherwise. There's the motif of dust, and throughout the story you'll become more familiar with what this means and how it fits into the story. But it's really good to add a little symbol as you go through, so that once you get a greater understanding of dust and its role in the story, you can go back and see how your understanding of it has developed throughout the story. Then there's north. The character is always talking about going north, and that's a particularly important place to the story. Northern Lights is also a symbol, which is obviously takes place in the north, but it's a separate and lesser symbolic. These two are related, but we've got soul and also religion. And you'll see that soul is quite separate from religion, but that each of these two things plays a role in one another's importance. But I'll leave that for you to find out for yourself. Then we have book learning. So there's always a contradiction or a contrast between book learning and Lyra, who acts mostly off instinct, even though she was raised in a place of scholars where book learning is tantamount to success. And the last motif is womanhood. So Lyra has been raised in a largely masculine patriarchal society, and so as she explores the world, she discovers what womanhood means, what femininity means, and how she can use these newfound abilities or powers or aspects of her gender to improve her situation within the world. In regards to symbols, I'm only going to give you 5 to get you started really quickly. We have demons, obviously. We have a compass. We have armor, especially as it relates to the bear. And then we have the Northern Lights, which, as I said earlier, is a very small symbolic element towards the end of the novel, and not really a motif, despite the fact it's in the title of the story. And lastly, sin. So again, you're considering the way sin, the soul, and dust all relate to one another, and this is quite a puzzle for you to work out, and something we'll discuss at length once we've all read the book. But there's again something to keep in mind, how it fits within the story and how you understand it and its role there. And the last thing beyond theme, symbol and motif you're going to be looking out for is 3 different forms of intertextual references. If you don't understand what an intertextual reference is, there's a whole 11-minute video on it, which is in my channel that you can find and read over. If this doesn't necessarily make sense, it might be worth doing. But in essence, within the book there are 3 different types of intertextual references. Firstly to the Bible, secondly to Paradise Lost, and thirdly to original intertext, which is where the author creates something that doesn't exist within the world as we know it. And for each of these references, you might want to put a post-it note, as there's not that many, but they are very important to a more broad understanding of the novel as you read through it. Hopefully that gives you enough to get you started and to get you annotating in your own way throughout the novel as you read through it. Good luck.